Okay, so today we're diving deep into one really specific, kind of electrifying moment in live television history.
Mm-hmm.
Just picture it. The most high-stakes, pressure cooker environment, maybe, in American media studio 8H at Saturday Night Live.
Right.
And then imagine one act of defiance there that didn't just make headlines, but, well, it fundamentally shifted culture.
That's exactly right. Yeah, our focus is squarely on Cypress Hill's notorious 1993 appearance on SNL.
Hmm.
And this deep dive, it's designed to go beyond just the basic story. We want to really understand the exact setup,
Okay.
the calculated risk taken by DJ Muggs, the chaos that immediately followed, and why this one rebellious spark carved out such a permanent place,
Yeah.
both in music history and, importantly, cannabis history.
And the central question, the thing that makes this story so compelling, is really this. What happens when an institution like SNL draws a bright, clear, non-negotiable red line?
Yeah.
Warning performers relentlessly, maybe about 20 times as the story goes, about one specific action.
And they do it anyway.
And they just do it anyway. In
Yeah.
front of millions, live on national TV. What happens then?
Well, that's how legends are made, right?
Yeah.
But to really appreciate the sheer weight of that decision, you have to understand the world back then. 1993.
Right. Different time.
Totally different. This wasn't, the environment of dispensaries on every corner or medical legality that we kind of take for granted today.
Not at all.
Cannabis was still really deep in the throes of being demonized. It was portrayed almost exclusively as, like, a societal scourge.
Yeah, by law enforcement, by the media.
By everyone, basically.
Exactly. And for those of us who maybe weren't watching live or weren't around then, it's actually hard to grasp just how radioactive this topic was.
It really was.
It wasn't just seen as, a minor legal thing. It was culturally framed as an explicit act of delinquency. Bad news.
Mm-hmm. So to show the plant, let alone, consume it on a massive mainstream network like NBC, that was radical. It was confrontational.
Yeah, the risk of cancellation, fines, serious career damage.
Right.
It was immediate. It was palpable. You could feel it.
And that's the context. That's the world Cypress Hill B-Real, Sen Dog, DJ Muggs, Eric Bobo walked into on October 2nd, 1993.
Okay. Shannon Doherty was hosting. Everything seemed set for just a typical SNL musical guest slot.
Right. And their first song was Insane in the Brain. Huge hit. Their breakthrough.
Massive.
And accounts from the time suggest that performance was tight, professional, completely safe.
Smooth sailing.
Yeah.
They were, playing by the rules, following the script, maybe even lulling the SNL crew into a false sense of security.
Uh-huh. And that contrast is so important because it really allowed the internal tension to build towards their second song, which was I Ain't Going Out Like That.
Okay.
Now, the team at SNL, they weren't naive. They knew Cypress Hill was controversial. They had clearly laid down the rules of engagement, especially about, on-stage props or any kind of substances.
And this is where the drama really kicks off, isn't it?
This is the moment.
We know from interviews, especially with DJ Muggs later on, that the warnings were extensive.
Yeah, not just a casual reminder.
No, not like a little note from a stage manager. This was apparently a high-level directive, repeated, like over and over.
About 20 times is the number often cited.
Right. That lighting up on stage was completely forbidden. Full stop. It was a line they were told very clearly, do not cross this line.
And what's fascinating here, I think, is the calculated nature of it all. Muggs has talked about this. It wasn't impulsive. It wasn't just a spur-of-the-moment thing.
Right.
It was a deliberate choice to use that huge platform to make a statement. So when the band kicked off, I Ain't Going Out Like That, stage lights blazing, energy high, Muggs moves to center stage near his DJ setup.
Paint the picture for us, because this is the image, the visual, that really lives on.
Okay, so Muggs knew exactly where the cameras were. He pulls out the joint, the very thing he'd been warned repeatedly not even to bring into the building, and he lights it up. Right there. Live. Think about that sensory overload on a live broadcast. You see the smoke curling up. Maybe you can almost smell it through the screen. That glowing ember under the bright Studio 8H lights.
Undeniable.
Absolutely undeniable proof. Radiating out to millions of homes instantly.
And the reaction backstage from the SNL staff must have been immediate panic.
Oh, absolutely explosive. While Muggs is, doing his thing with the smoke, B-Real and Sen Dog are powering through the song, performing.
Keep it going.
Keeping the performance going, knowing full well what's happening right behind them. It wasn't subtle. It wasn't a wink. It was loud, proud, completely unapologetic. a visible, active rebellion against the network's rules.
And I think what elevates this beyond just like a cheap publicity stunt is the gravity of that statement back in 1993. It
Exactly.
wasn't just shock value for its own sake. It was taking this plant, a plant actively being used to incarcerate people, especially disproportionately people of color, and putting it right on the whitest, most mainstream stage in America.
Yeah.
They were making the plant visible, making it part of culture, not just contraband hidden away.
And if you connect that to the bigger picture of, say, censorship or cultural norms, it was an incredibly potent act, very specific. It forced the network's hand, and it challenged the audience's perception. It validated a huge chunk of the population who felt criminalized just for their habits.
And that defiance, that moment, led directly into, well, absolute pandemonium as the set finished.
Oh, yeah. Accounts from both the crew and the band describe staff just rushing the stage, absolutely furious at the blatant disregard for the rules.
You can picture it.
Totally. The moment the song wrapped, the vibe shifted, highly charged. Some accounts even mention instruments getting damaged or like smashed during the scramble to clear the set.
Wow.
Just adding to this general sense of fury and chaos around the stage manager's area. The show cuts immediately to commercial, obviously.
Got to clean up.
And the internal cleanup, physical and disciplinary, begins right then and there.
And that immediate furious reaction kind of gave birth to the legendary consequence, the ban. The band themselves, almost immediately, proudly started saying they were banned for life from Saturday Night Live.
And you know what? The band needed that band narrative. That label became part of their identity. It was like a badge of honor.
Right.
It cemented their reputation as these cultural renegades willing to fight the power structure. It was frankly the perfect story ending for such a high-profile act of rebellion.
But this is where the source material gives us that classic deep dive nuance, right? Separating the myth from the official reality.
Yeah.
Because if you actually ask SNL today, they maintain a very specific, almost semantic defense.
It's fascinating. The institutional memory, or lack thereof, Saturday Night Live officially states pretty consistently that they don't ban artists.
Right. They won't acknowledge it.
They won't acknowledge a formal blacklist. No specific paperwork exists saying Cypress Hill is banned. They tend to manage controversy more through silence and omission, let it fade away.
Which is, a pretty clever way of diffusing the power of the rebels, isn't it?
Yeah.
You refuse to give the band the official satisfaction of the ban.
Exact.
But, and this is the really important part, actions speak louder than carefully worded statements, don't they?
Precisely. Which raises the question, does the lack of a signed piece of paper truly negate the reality on the ground? Because despite that official stance,
They haven't been back.
Cypress Hill has not been invited back. They haven't performed on that show in the entire 30 years since that incident.
30 years.
So for all practical purposes, the cultural concept, the blacklisting, whatever you want to call it, was immediate, and it's been absolute.
So maybe the lore of the band is actually what matters most here.
I think so.
It kind of transcended the internal NBC politics and became this cultural touchstone. And it served Cypress Hill perfectly, didn't it? It transformed an incident into a foundational myth for them, proving they were too real, too rebellious for the mainstream.
Which is the perfect bridge, really, to talk about their lasting cultural impact. Because that single moment, that image of smoke swirling on live TV, wasn't just a stunt. It was like a permanent carving in cannabis history.
Yeah, it showed a whole generation of fans and, maybe more importantly, the entertainment industry itself, that hip-hop, cannabis, and open rebellion could actually coexist.
Even if that coexistence meant getting immediately kicked off the stage.
Right. They forced that acceptance simply by showing its undeniable existence in that moment.
And for the fans, this was huge validation. They saw that act and felt like the plant was finally being recognized as culture, not just something illegal or dangerous or something to hide.
It was a very public, very tangible counter-argument to decades of media demonization. It kind of broke the spell of silence around consumption,
Yeah.
especially on a platform that was supposed to be edgy but was still, pretty rigidly controlled.
And if you compare it to maybe other famous SNL acts of defiance, think Sinead O'Connor tearing up the Pope's photo just a year earlier.
Right, another huge moment.
Huge moment. But Muggs' act resonated differently. O'Connor's was a direct political and religious protest. Cypress Hill's was more of a protest against the criminalization of a lifestyle, something seen by millions as a victimless cultural practice. It hit closer to home for a lot of viewers in a different way.
That's a great point.
And that distinction might be why the footage is still so potent today. 30 years later, DJ Muggs defiantly lighting up is still consistently pointed to as a watershed moment, a landmark in cannabis's long, slow journey towards normalization. It showed the power of taking a highly visible, calculated risk.
So what does this deep dive really mean for you listening today? I think it means that sometimes the calculated breaking of a rule, one you know will bring down massive institutional consequences,
Yep.
can actually be the most effective way to permanently shift public perception, to move culture forward.
Yeah, the core takeaway has to be the astonishing power packed into a single, well-timed act of defiance. Cypress Hill risked, well, pretty much everything. Their immediate career momentum, their relationship with a major network, all for a puff of smoke. And that specific risk paid off. Not maybe in immediate radio play or sales, but in cultural permanence. A legacy that has lasted 3 decades.
That really is a powerful thought. And it makes you wonder, if a calculated puff of smoke on live TV in 1993 helped carve the path for normalization, what are the modern acts of defiance happening now?
Right. Quiet ones, maybe loud ones.
Exactly. What things are happening right now that future historians, maybe 30 years from now, will point back to as the tipping points for today's emerging movements or cultural shifts? What seemingly small transgression today will be remembered as a landmark down the road.
It's definitely something to think about.
Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive into one of music and counterculture's most legendary standoffs. We really hope you gained some insights into the incredible power of visible defiance.